Hello there everyone, this is Iron Mark 3 and welcome to a stormy day in From the Depths. What is this? A From the Depths video that's not a stream? What is this heresy, I hear you cry? Well, I have something of potential interest and I was asked to put it up, so here we go. I present to you the Sail Monster. Yeah, I don't know what this thing does. I don't know what it's meant to do. And I built the darn thing, but here it is. It's got a collection of random features which may or may not be of interest to various people, depending on what you're looking for. But it is actually a completely powerless craft. It doesn't have any kind of power source built into it, but it is a thing. So let's do a quick feature rundown on it. First off, I call it the Sail Monster because, you know, it's a sail monster. It's got lots and lots of sails configuration, massive amounts of it. Though sadly, it's too compact to be a proper sailing craft because I worked out that sails are the bigger the better, basically. Though of interest in this particular arrangement is how compact it is because sails don't interfere with each other, so you can pack them in as tight as can be, and they'll still work just as well, which is sometimes good, sometimes bad, sometimes bleh, who knows. The other thing I've done is I've got this odd little flipping arrangement going on here. Like, as you can see, I've got the sail on top and the sail on bottom, and that's because the sail applies, from my testing, it applies its force from the actual sail mounting block right in the middle. You know, the very corner piece, rather than from the middle of the entire sail sheet itself. So, if you build from just the hull up, I found that it has a very strong tendency to cause the craft to have various flipping problems. Like it can do the good old traditional From the Depths boat thing of like going up on its rear end and then falling over backwards. And I found that this can be compensated for by having a number of sails mounted upside down, which helps get the propulsion force a bit higher up. So that's one feature here that may be of interest. Another is that it features ACB controlled heliblade stabilization. So it's got one on the nose here which is working to try to control the pitch of the craft, and it's got another two situated in the sides of the craft which are intended to control the roll. So basically that's one stabilization which keeps this craft steady. This craft is ridiculously stabilized, by the way. It's kind of nuts. Yeah. The thing that has an AI control, but I find it doesn't really work too well with the AI because it's just such a hodgepodge of random bits and pieces. So if that's going to be of use to you, you know, enjoy. I've also included the ACBs, which convert complex controller signals for use from an AI control system. So that's an ACB set just there. I have devoted the main sail rigging 50% between side and spinal mounting, so it works about as well going straight forward as it does going sideways, more or less. Though I must point out that having this configuration seems to detract from each other in terms of getting in the way of wind. So this has actually scuppered its potential performance a little bit. And that's the cost of having it be able to make use of wind more reliably in general. So yeah, that's the thing as well. Anyway, next up on the feature list is another stability thing. To reduce the drag of this craft, it has wedges prominently on its forward sections, as you can see, but it also features local controlled hydrofoils to raise the craft out of the water. They are fairly gentle because, you know, don't want as much drag and don't want it bopping all over the place. But because there's three of them, they are set locally for ACBs, they individually control their own pitching. So these three hydrofoil arrangements also act as a kind of go up and stabilize. So if one section gets too high, it'll automatically cancel its own lift and start to drop back. So two stabilization systems are present on this craft. lastly, and more distinctly, I have these, which are the rudders. Biggest rudders ever, basically. And they actually double as a minor form of propulsion, though I must note they barely provide any propulsion at all, despite the size of the propeller blades on them. I was trying to get this thing to work with individual complex controllers on the sails, so let's crank it all up, full power. Then if I try to turn left, as you can see, left side of the primary assembly just powers back down, they retract the sails, but that was proving to be not very effective because of the compact profile of the craft and how the sails are arranged. By the way, the sails are ACB controlled. No, not ACB controlled, complex controller controlled. I'm going nuts. But we knew this already. Fear me! So that's that. So I then experimented building these extremely large rudders which stick down into the water. And as you can see, they just like, if I want to turn left, they go like that. One of the rudder on the inside of the turn angles to 50, the outside rudder angles to 30. And then it doubles the same way. Sorry, it does the same on the opposite direction as well, so it can do that. But I found that while that was better than just relying on the sails, it was not enough. So that's why there are now these dedicated blades, just to help things along a little bit, so the rudders have more force behind them. Though they also act as forward and backward propulsion, because that's how they are keyed, so I can run them in reverse if I want to, like backwards! Hear me? This sailing ship can go backwards with all its sails down. Can't do it very quickly though. Like, only a couple of meters a second, but it can do it. Sort of. Oh well. Let's just crank it all into forward gear again. But I found these big rudders with built-in propellers to be an interesting arrangement, so probably the most interesting thing about this craft, to be honest. This arrangement here might be of interest to you guys. It's controlled, each rudder is controlled locally by a pair of ACBs here, which respond to the complex controllers, and so that determines how far they swing around when they're trying to respond to the turning commands. And then to reset them, there is a single localized ACB in the front, which has a slightly longer range to affect both spin blocks, and every so often it gives the command to set back to 0. So if there's not an active turning command going on, the rudders just reset themselves and go back to the straight and narrow. And that is basically what I've done with it. Where's the wind? That way. Okay. It really needs more turning, it really needs more tuning, but this is a prototype craft. In general, there's a lot of things here which I think could be useful for a sail or powerless style craft, so definitely some stuff here. That's why I'm putting this up, because I think it'll be of interest. But in itself, this craft is definitely not all that functional. I mean, look, even with that additional power, its turning force is kind of pathetic. Even with the sails trying to help too, but that's the main problem. The sails are like, the sails don't like to play very nicely at all. The sails arrangement is just not very good. But I'm trying to swing it around now to show you the final feature of this thing, which is, this is in response to Sporty, who had trouble getting a ship going above like 10 meters a second, and I mentioned I had one going like 22. Sporty was trying to build a 100-meter craft. My craft was like 20 meters. This particular model, which was built as this testbed kind of deal, is actually a 100-meter craft. So it's kind of like trying to bring it up to the level that Sporty was at and what he was working on. So that's what I've done there. And I'm just trying to get this thing around so that it's back in the wind and is up to speed, which is a real hassle given how well it turns. Yes. Let's go full power. If I press forward and then turn, I have more sails up and I can turn still at about the same rate. So I don't know. I'm not. This thing will turn eventually. Mark my words, it will. Oh, hello, island. I'm trying not to crash into you. Come on, you're making me look bad in this demonstration video. Then again, turning is not mentioned as a feature for this craft, so yeah, look how well it turns. It's really not happy about things, is it? Okay, what happens if I do this then? Actually, this doesn't feel right. Hang on. If I want to go left, the rear-mounted props turn that way. Yes, that is correct. Then if I want to go that way, the props turn over there. Yes, that is correct. Oh, hello, land. You're getting awfully close. Oh dear. I'm really struggling to try and turn around and get into the wind. Ah! Come on, turn! I command you, turn! What a pile of junk. Oh, man. I'll get there sooner or later. Maybe. What a lovely day. Yeah, it's managing 10 meters a second, and this is full force turning right now, so fear that. I really must add more rudders and more props to something like this. But it's 100 meter. Anyway, since it's a larger craft and it's got a lot of stability, this craft can actually handle high recoil weapons like cannons and things fairly well. So don't go super overboard, but you can easily mount a whole bunch of cannons and things on this thing if you wanted to. Preferably low recoil ones, but this is especially good for missiles, and you could probably fit energy weaponry into this thing fairly well. The problem is with it being such a sail-dedicated craft, it's like, you know what, heck with this. It's such a sail-mounted craft, so much of its volume is taken up by sails, and that's its main concern. So much internal space is taken up by the sails. But you could easily mount a pair of deck guns on the sides of these forward sails, you could put something on the front sail, you can put something on the top, you could put torpedo weapons on the underside, things like that. That's what my thoughts were on arming this particular craft, but I'm actually going to cheat a little bit and pull you out of play because you are such an idiot.
Moving out.
There we go, now let's put you back in. Are you aligned properly now? No, you're in a 90 degree. Okay.
Listening.
Pull out. Go that way.
Moving out.
For some reason it thinks it's an aircraft. I'll correct that now. You are a watercraft, you idiot. There we go. Put you back in. Okay, that is now correct. And suddenly, now that I'm actually in the wind, dun dun dun, I'm going at 20 meters a second. So, yeah. This going faster is possible under the right conditions with a sailcraft, but making one that's viable is a whole lot trickier. And as you saw, this one sacrifices a huge amount of turning force. Well, it's actually just, oh look, the wind is changing again. I need to turn more to try and get back into it, but at least I'm actually moving now. And since I'm moving, hopefully I'll be able to turn a bit better. Yes, I can turn a bit better. That's the other thing about sailing craft. They perform worse when it's slower. Ugh. You really need some form of assist in the form of props and bigger rudders and things like that. But yeah, this craft can go about 20 to 21 meters per second if it's in ideal conditions. The rest of the time it drops to about 10. So, all in all, this is the Sail Monster. Interesting crafts. Definitely a good theory tester, but by itself, a cluster of experiments and a huge piece of junk. So yeah, take from it what you want, really. I pointed out all the good systems in it, so hopefully this will be of interest to you guys. I think that my favourite part about it really is the rudder, because that's entirely new. I only came up with those for this particular test. It's the first time I've ever done something like that, and they work okay. I think it's just the rest of the craft that holds them back so much. Anyway, this has been Iron Mark III. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed having a look at this thing. And a workshop link will be in the description down below if you are interested in picking this silly thing up. Yeah, I'll catch you all some other time.